All right, welcome everybody to the NWO show, your source for everything New World. I'm gonna get rid of the echo that's inevitably gonna happen there. So we have kind of an action-packed show tonight. Tons of news, tons of information that I know everybody's looking for. Obviously, we've got the open beta starting later this week. But we'll get more into that and the details behind the preload for that, as well as the details behind the exact event. I want to make sure that we cover a bunch of the other stories that happened. For those that don't know, obviously it's been a little over a week since we've streamed last. Mostly that's due to my day job. Unfortunately, a lot of other stuff happened across the U.S. that required my attention and my overall job to be swapped to nights on 12-hour shifts for a week straight. So, if I come across tired, it's because I am actually tired.
For people who don't know what you do, it does come over a little bit egotistical. There was stuff that's happening all over America that required my unique attention, but it kind of is correct to a degree.
For those that don't know, I work disaster management, emergency management type stuff. So having a hurricane landfall in Louisiana and then cross the U.S. and still manage to hurt people in New York is kind of a thing for me. So
quite something as well.
So that said, you guys aren't here to hear about that. You're here to hear about New World. So we had some pretty cool stuff happen. Fundamentally, EVGA, one of the manufacturers of the cards that showed up in large quantity to have failed while playing New World, has come out with an official announcement talking about their investigation into what happened to the 3090 cards that were destroyed while playing New World. Basically, it was inevitable. It was going to happen at some point in time due to poor soldering. As I stated before, and there, as I stated in the thread on the Reddit. There are a lot of people that owe me an apology because I called it as a hardware problem from the start. Simply put, it was inevitable to be a hardware problem. For those that don't know, NVIDIA cards, generally speaking, and I've said this about a number of different lines of the NVIDIA cards, have had controller problems where this isn't the first generation that has randomly started blowing up for no reason.
And this isn't the first game.
Yeah, and this isn't the first game that they've done it in. McLeod and I know at least a couple of people that have had 3090s destroyed in Star Citizen, have had 3090s destroyed in running EVE Online.
Flight Sim, Microsoft Flight Sim as well.
Yeah. And the reasoning that a lot of companies have been giving for why it's failed has been the fan controller, which turned out to not be a thing because NVIDIA cards occasionally give the wrong information to the controller, i.e. telling the controller that they're spinning up the fans to 20,000 RPMs, which if you're new to PC gaming, that's not a speed that your fan runs at unless you're trying to take off a jet.
Exactly.
So having your computer openly having parts of your computer openly lie to controlling software is probably not the best thing for your drivers, and probably not overall one of the things that you really want to have happen. But it is what it is.
If you do have an EVGA card and you do get that kind of that readout from, say, GPU-Z or hardware info or something like that basically tells you that your card is ramping up to ridiculous fan speeds. Apparently what you need to do is you need to go to EVGA and actually download a tool which is called Precision X1, which will be able to correctly report what your actual EVGA fan speed is.
Exactly. And that's probably one of the better ones. On top of that, like EVGA specifically, their cards have had like nobody really can say why, but their cards just openly lie to the control software.
I think it's got something to do with the noise that like a component of theirs like creates. Whether it like, and I don't think we specifically mean like actual like noise, like sort of like like audible noise, but like maybe some sort of like some electromagnetic noise in some way, shape, or form that like essentially creates that misreporting. Believe it's something to do with that.
Yeah. It's not, again, it's not uncommon for this to happen. To put this out there, I am still looking to buy a 3090. I'm not paying scalper prices. I'm looking to buy it for MSRP. So, like, I'm asking a lot apparently. But even with some of the problems that they've had, they're still great cards. That said, EVGA has openly stated that any card that fails for these reasons, it will openly accept an RMA and replace it, and they actually cross-shipped cards during the closed beta, knowing full well, I believe EVGA knew ahead of time that this was going to happen, because they, like, you don't cross-ship multi-$1,000 cards. Like, simply put, like, if you messed up, you know you messed up, and that's when you say, okay, hey, these guys definitely have a case, these cards failed, like, we're going to swap them out, no questions asked. Whenever a company does something no questions asked, you know something is up.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what we learned from J2 Cents and several other videos is that the control software on the cards themselves, in terms of the drivers and things like that, are effectively unable to actually control the voltage used by the card. By ballpark 30% at the high end. Let me put that out there. Your card, despite the software control element stating you cannot pull more than X% power, is going 30% beyond that power consumption limit. That to me says design problem from the start. Like, second J2 Cents launched that video, I was like, this is the bigger story. It's NVIDIA doing what NVIDIA does. Let's make a cheap reference board, or the cheapest possible reference board, using shunts instead of controllers, because they're less expensive, but they don't do anything for the high end, which is what it is. So, that's the 3090 news. Simply put, New World did not actually break these cards. It was just the catalyst of being, hey, it's a large load. Had these people have loaded into any other major game and left it uncapped and ran their cards at 100%, it is what it is. It would have happened.
I love how Gordon Mahon, the PC World's executive editor, titled this particular article, because it's not dispelling it. It's not saying EVG explains how Amazon's MMO didn't break, GeForce RTX 3090s. It's like explains how Amazon's MMO bricked it. It's like no, Amazon's MMO didn't brick it. EVGA's bad soldering bricked it.
Yeah. So again, fundamentally, these cards were broken from the start. It was just a matter of time before shoddy craftsmanship caught up with them. It only accounted for, according to EVGA, far less than 1% of the cards that they've sold. But that happens. So
there were also, it was kind of actually quite funny, because there was also instances of people coming out and realizing that it wasn't actually New World that bricked their cards. It was other kind of issues, other faults, other kind of things. Like I think one guy on Reddit basically realized that his PSU like shorted out and blew his card, and only on later inspection, when he actually inspected his PC later on, found that one of his connections to his modular piece, his modular PSU, had actually shorted out so much that it had actually melted the connector into the PSU permanently. It's yeah, that might have been the issue rather than New World.
Yes. So that was kind of the big one.
Yeah.
The 3090 story, obviously, I think at this point it's been put to bed. It wasn't New World. Sure, it was the game that was running when the failure happened, but fundamentally it was bad craftsmanship. So we'll put the wraps on that one. We've got a ton more other stuff to go through today. So this was released earlier today. So tomorrow, September 8th at 7 a.m. Pacific time, you'll be able to open Steam, go to the New World store page, scroll down to join the New World Open Beta playtest, and click request access. When the open beta begins on the 9th, keep in mind that's the next day, you'll receive an email to whichever email that you have tied to your Steam account, letting you know that you can download and play the New World Open Beta. I believe these emails should be going out shortly after you actually click the button, but I haven't confirmed that. There is a pre-download window for this, so once you get the key, you are able to download it, and make sure that you do that, because you don't want to be waiting at the start, and you're going to want to get started as fast as possible because we do only have a few days.
You have. God, hang on. I worked it out. I think it was 89 hours.
Yeah. It is a relatively short window.
Yeah, the beta, the open beta lasts 89 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that was the one. Because it's 96 hours minus 7 hours because you're not going from 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. You're going from 7 a.m. to midnight, right?
So it should be a good time, for those of us that have gotten the opportunity to play in the past. Obviously, we're excited for it. I don't think I'm going to be going super ham. I don't have any intention of hitting level 60 by the end of it. I think that there probably will be a couple people who manage that, but I mean, let's be real. That's going to be quite the accomplishment.
We have got I am putting together a YouTube piece actually for New World Show, for our YouTube, about the short span of the open beta, and about crafting, and about what you should really consider when you're going down the crafting sort of side of things, if you're planning on going and playing in the open beta. So look out for that tomorrow. We'll blast that out all the regular channels and stuff like that, but just a heads up.
Oh yeah. We are in the process of launching our YouTube, which fundamentally right now really only hosts kind of our shows, which if you're interested in an hour or 2 hour long content, then have at those. But we are looking to also start off and do some of these smaller videos that are a little bit more bite-sized, compact, more easily consumable than the long-form shows that we run. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be a good time. If you want to make sure that you catch that, please make sure to join the Discord, which has a whole bunch of other opportunities within.
Yeah, and also follow us on Twitter as well.
Yeah. Those are probably the best ways to make sure that you know what's going on with our channel and what's going on with the game, because we keep an automated resource of all of the tweets that have ever been released, all of their replies, all of their official videos, all of their official artwork that they've released. All of those things we maintain on the Discord for people to have at any point in time. We see it as a good resource for other content creators and that to ensure that everybody's on board with the same things, and that everybody has what they need to make content about the game. So that's been kind of our go-to in a lot of ways. Also, it pulls in, all kinds of tech news. There's a lot of good conversation that happens there. And just generally a good place to be. And for those interested in joining, a company on US East, we will be playing on the Thule server, US East as Covenant. If you join the Discord, make yourself known. We'll be more than happy to have you join us. Where did I get my cap? This is a gift from
always
Amazon
comes
Game
up.
Services. Or Amazon
it
Game
always
Studio.
comes up.
Yeah.
I think we should make a little kind of command for everybody to just exclamation point cap, and it will answer that question.
Yeah. I should make a pre-run video that literally just plays over and answers that question, because I get it all the time.
If you're looking for I've been looking for that cap for ages, and just it hasn't surfaced either.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking for New World related sort of merchandise and stuff, literally just scroll down a little bit and you'll see that we have a link to New World merch on Amazon. That is an affiliate link, by the way. So, just so you know, it's also it's a great way of being able to, help help us without it actually costing you any more at all.
And of course, we also get credit for other purchases. So even though the link there is for a T-shirt or whatever I changed it to recently,
I think it just goes to the
whatever you buy over the course of 72 hours, it helps us out. It doesn't add anything to you; it just tracks the end commissioned value. So, yeah. So I always love that question, because it is a difficult thing to find, and these caps are fundamentally how somebody has been streaming New World for at least a year, because in order to get one, you had to be a content creator or somebody that the studio felt needed to be thanked in some way for early contributions to the game or the community, and then you got one of these for the preview event last year. So it's these are kind of the OG hats. You're either a dev or you're somebody the devs have deemed deserves their thanks. And you'll also see people
only got one
in the background. You got the New World box back here that it came in. So
of course we only got one box for the channel, which is unfortunate.
So we actually ended up getting two.
We got two, but we weren't able to keep two.
Yeah. What else was in the box? It had a I think it was 6,000 milliamp hour battery bank.
It was it was a battery bank. There was a
$20 Grubhub card and a New World kind of gator type thing, mask, and a New World themed hand sanitizer. So it's a nice little gift from them. Yeah, Crown
nice.
Here got the other box when we did Amazon Games let us do a giveaway during the preview last year, and they provided the extra box, so Crown got the extra one there.
And since then, Crown has kind of stuck around and been a cool component of the community in actual fact. So I think it worked. It worked, days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a good time. They really have in the future we're planning to do an episode entirely on the content creator program, because it really is a cool program. It really is a great way to even get small channels like ours. Today you wouldn't call us super small, but back during the preview, our average viewership was 15. And now we're, in the ballpark
now,
of being partnered.
And I mean, on occasion we get the 1,000 or so people, but trending up to 3 figures is fantastic for us.
Absolutely. We're always big fans of that, and that really is to do with being in the content creator program, because they help us. We can only do so much advertising for our show. I'm sure many of you came in through Discord links, through sorry, I'm getting over a little cold here too. Through the Twitter, things like that. But those things only go so far. Getting retweeted by the official account, getting, having our post approved on their Facebook page, those kind of things are actually huge for us. And they might not know how valuable that is to a small creator, but fundamentally those really do help out. So I would encourage people to sign up for the creator program. We're hoping to do a whole show on just the creator program, and hopefully have on Greg to talk about it. So we will see if that
that'd be
actually
fantastic.
happens. But yeah.
Anyway, what's next on the roster?
Yes. So what's next? So we have a bunch of comments from New World that we want to clear up and make sure that that what they're getting across is known. So tomorrow morning, obviously, you can start requesting access to New World. You won't be able to actually access the game, but it puts you in a system to get the key sent to you via the email that is tied to your Steam account. It'll shoot you the email, you add it in, and I believe that they're going to allow for preload once that comes in. I don't know when the keys are actually getting sent out exactly, but I believe there's going to be some time for preload. I know that they know that it's a short window that they're running, so I would assume that the keys will probably come very shortly after you sign up.
But make sure that your Steam has the sort of relevant information to do that. Like, if it's sending emails to an email that you don't have access to anymore for whatever reason, like, that isn't going to help you in any way, shape, or form. Like, update that stuff before you hit the button.
Absolutely. That's a huge one. And of course, the other side of that is that oftentimes people put stuff on their wish list and you get a ton of emails from Steam. Make sure that your Steam, like the Steam email that's sent to you, isn't going to your spam folder, or continually check your spam folder. Like, it's actually really important. For people that played in the alpha, you would be surprised at how many people failed to get their invite because it just went to their spam folder, and then like 6 months later they were like, oh my god, I've had an invite the whole time. Like, it really is painful to watch, especially when, like, the alpha that they were invited to ended. There's those kind of things are rough to watch. So make sure to keep an eye out for those. All right.
Yeah, we've got a few more. Basically, these what we're doing here is basically going through a few very common questions that people tend to have, and basically showing you that there are official answers for this. This isn't just like us speculating. These are official answers from New World, from Amazon Games themselves.
So Khaled asks, progress in the closed beta would be carried open to the open beta? ? It would be useful for us to test the endgame stuff, since 3 days, isn't a ton of time. The New World account answer is no. Servers are wiped between each of the testing phases. Likewise, servers will be wiped between the open beta and launch. So basically, if you played in the closed beta, all of your progress is going to get wiped, and you're starting on a fresh account. If you play in the open beta, all of your progress will be wiped at the end of it, going into launch. So nothing will carry over to launch. That's so that everybody's got an equal playing field day one. Because otherwise, like, I'd be level 60 right off the break.
Exactly.
And, yeah. People would be upset with me right away. Which, you go back long enough and people have been upset with me for the duration, so,
Well, not only that, but, like, you would have the same amount of gold and this, that, and the other, right? And you'd be able to literally, from the get-go, purchase territories.
Yeah.
Which is a bit unfair.
So naturally, that's something that is going to be the case. It's been the case in just about every major MMO beta to launch schedule. Is that they'll wipe everything at the end of the beta to make sure everything's clean for launch. I would assume that I would virtually assume that not just that things will wipe. Sorry, I got distracted.
Okay.
People get upset with me for moderating the Reddit, so yeah. So basically, this is incredibly normal for them to do. It is it is what it is. They've done it all the time. It's kind of standard practice. So going on to the next question here. Will progress carry over to the main game? All purchases and progress be wiped before New World's official release on September 28th.
Yeah,
it's odd that they put purchases in there because there won't be any like sale, like actual like store purchases. But I believe that they're going to give people the premium currency for the open beta as well to ensure that system is working as intended. So that this just covers their bases here.
I wanted to include that. I wanted to include that just so if anybody had any questions regarding, like, any purchases with the store currency.
Oh
yeah.
So this one we actually thought was really interesting. Will controller function be available for the open beta or ready for launch? The official response: we appreciate your interest in New World. There is no native controller support planned for New World at this moment. We do, however, encourage you to try the Steam controller support if you wish to play the game with a controller.
And that's interesting because previously, people who wanted to play with New World with a controller had to go like the third-party route, like third-party software route to basically map keyboard commands onto a controller and vice versa, right? This is interesting because they are actually specifically, pointing you towards Steam controller support, which is, that's new.
I actually have a Steam controller. They're relatively rare devices at this point, but you can still get hold of them in some places.
Yeah.
I managed to pick mine up for $5 from Steam.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think you specifically need a Steam controller for, for that sort of thing. But I don't know. I haven't really played around with it, so I went the third-party route.
Yeah. Now McLeod here has actually had experience playing the game with was it an Xbox controller?
It was actually with a Sony PS2 controller.
PS2 controller, right?
Yeah.
And it worked, but it wasn't like there were some weird oddities to it because like things like splitting stacks in your inventory really didn't work well.
That was awkward because you get this tiny little tiny little thing to sort of change your values and stuff, and as if you're with the keyboard mouse, you can quickly just go into the go to the numbers and type in the exact amount that you want. You can't really do that with a controller, so you have to kind of control it with this little slider, right? And the slider is very, very small, and when you're trying to sort of move like several hundred stuff, it's extremely difficult to get precise.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And there is, as is being pointed out in chat is that Steam also has a general controller support section as well. That's totally
you don't need to have an actual
the
Steam
game
controller.
is also set up to work with being able to rebind almost every key, and is set up to work with accessibility devices. So that is very much a thing for those that need it, and I think it's a good thing for them to put their effort in on that front as well. But that's all we got for the controller support. We've got one last one here. What about language-suggested servers? I thought you were releasing these for the open beta. Large communities are waiting for some kind of announcement. The open beta will be available in English, French, German, Italian, Spanish, Spain, and I don't know,
Latin American,
Polish, Brazilian Portuguese, and the servers for the open beta will be available for North America, Europe, Australia, South America. There's more on this. I've got to scroll for a while to find this, but there is an effort.
One that's more...
I'm looking for the MineMMO article.
Right, okay, yeah.
There is an effort within the studio to actually ensure that this is a thing. Actually just posted this on Reddit earlier today. So, this is obviously in German, so let's let Chrome do its thing, and now it's in English. So, for those that don't know, this happened a while ago, actually not super long ago. This was September 6th. MineMMO has generally been on top of things in terms of getting updates from New World. I don't know what it is about the Germans, but they managed to get all the good stuff.
I wanted.
But one of the things that was talked about, and this is from Scott Lane in an interview, is that there is a possibility that certain servers are provided with a language recommendation for the release so that German players, for example, can gather on certain servers. Basically, in the overview of the servers, there's going to be language recommendations. You're not limited. You can join whatever servers you want to join, but there is going to be an effort from the developers to put relative languages together. So it'll probably come across as different flags and stuff like that, or some just basically saying, hey, here's servers that generally speaking German people have congregated in, or etc. Is it known how many players are able to join a single server at the same time? So the official number is over 1,000. The reality is that it's in the ballpark of 2,500 to 4,000, depending on the server and depending on player density. And that's concurrent players at the same time. The reason we know that is, roughly speaking, based on the queues and the number of people concurrently playing the game mixed with the total number of servers during the closed beta. You can get a pretty good estimate that 2.5 seems to be the low end on a server, and then 4 seem to be the absolute high end, which they seem to be testing still what the best player density feel is, because the servers are not, they don't really have an issue pumping more people in. The challenge is when there's too many people on a server, you start having a lot of competition for resources, and things stop keeping up. So you'll end up with 30 people trying to mine 6 nodes for a mission that respawn every 5 minutes. Those kind of things are kind of important in terms of the feel of the game. Yes, New World Gamepad configuration in the r-New World Game subreddit will get you a good result for for controller support. There's also some videos out there about how to do it. I know I've seen 1 or 2 of them pop up. You can play New World on a controller. It is actually possible. Is it officially supported? No. Is it possible? Absolutely. So, go into it from that perspective. You won't be let down. That said, I'm going to be playing with a mouse and keyboard because that's what I always do. But yeah. So there were a few other things announced, mostly about like why the delay happened, in that there were a lot more bugs and fixes that they had to deal with, in a pretty large number actually. And I actually confirmed this with one of the devs as well, that fundamentally there was a lot of things for them to fix, not a lot of time for them to do it. Some of them were more complex than others, but really did actually need a solid fix to them. And yeah, at this point I'm actually kind of happy they delayed it. I know we would have been playing for a week plus at this point, but I'm happy they delayed because it really does give them the opportunity to ensure that the game launches in the best condition possible. And it also shows that they're not interested in the money on this. They're interested in doing it right, which I think as a community we should really be supporting that. Comparatively to EA, where they'll launch a game where it's still obviously got years to go. Battlefield 5, looking at you. Like it really is a good opportunity to get things going, get the game in a good condition. Fix the dupe glitch, fix the duel glitch, fix the. I believe they've confirmed that they've fixed the axe double hit on heavies on heavies from the left, which is a weird problem, but yeah. What a strange, part of me actually really liked that one, where it was, double the damage coming from the left-hand side if you were doing a heavy attack, because, you had to actually be paying attention to do it. But it was kind of broken damage-wise, so...
It wasn't massively spammable because it was a heavy hit, and you had to sort of make sure that it was going from a particular direction, so yeah. But even so, it was still a little bit broken.
Yeah. One thing I can say, in terms of the question on bots, let's remember that these guys are very, very good about understanding analytics. They've been building the game based on analytics. They've got a lot of things that can understand. If people are doing something in a very consistent and specific way, over and over again, you can identify bots pretty quickly. And there's a lot of things built into the game to prevent botting at least some level. So for instance, phishing. Phishing, I've physically seen a bot already for it. That said, it doesn't work all of the time. You'll remember that while you're fishing, occasionally the screen will shift as you bring in the fish, and it'll show you carrying the fish and that, but it doesn't move the thing back to where you were looking. That's by design. It actually makes you look 180 of the direction you were looking, so that if you cast, you're not casting over water anymore, most likely. So unless you were standing over open water, it's not going to be a thing. Yep. So there's little stuff like that that's added in. There's also inconsistencies with timing. So there's a common knowledge that most nodes will respawn within 5 minutes. However, it's not an exact number. This is a very little known thing, is that it is not an exact number. Chests are an exact number. They respawn either on the hour or on the 24-hour, depending on the type of box that they are. But they are not a exact... all nodes, resource nodes. You'll notice, when you go to mine iron, and there's 3 nodes sitting there, and you come back to it the second time, you'll notice that the second or third node that you mined respawned first. And it's because that's not in order. That's not an actual timed thing. It's giving it a random timer of a range. So for people that didn't know that, that's also a thing. And that's literally designed that way to prevent botting. Because if they come back and stand there and do nothing, they're very easy to detect.
Mm-hmm. Regarding the animation cancelling, like Amazon Games have kind of said that they're kind of looking into animation cancelling and whether animation cancelling is being used like too much in certain areas or too little, or like maybe not too little in certain areas, but like basically if it's being abused in particular kind of areas. And that also includes obviously fishing, where you can animation cancel, as Oldman kind of says, like you can animation cancel that sort of like trophy style kind of animation when you've caught a fish, sort of thing. So it's possible maybe
the kicker with that is it makes it a lot more
mm-hmm.
difficult to code as a like most of the bots out there are looking for color detection, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So like the phishing bot is based on color detection based on a region that it's looking at on the screen. But if that shifts and moves to a different spot, that makes it more challenging. Then you got to watch the whole screen instead of just the little icon for I've casted it out and the icon pops up and then it turns. That's the first first trigger, and then I'm not going to explain how to code bots from here out, but like fundamentally, like there are easy ways to detect that, and if they're canceling that animation, like they've got to cancel it really quickly, and that's going to be very detectable as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like if they can add a situation where you can animation cancel, they can very easily go back into the code and remove that ability for you to cancel that animation. Like so, it depends entirely on how abused it is and whether Amazon Games kind of thinks that it warrants sort of that kind of change so that it is less abused by the majority of players.
We're going to kind of roll into the Q&A part of this and basically just open it up to you guys. If you got questions, if you got anything you want to chat about, we're game. In the background, we're playing a video. I'll get you guys the link to this video actually. Gaming Trends posted this video, and I feel like the sad thing about this is that we've gotten more views on this video than Gaming Trends has received. So like I feel bad about that because like we've had thousands of people watch this and they've had like, I'll get the exact number here, 3,962. Like, and this is a full round of Outpost Rush.
Yeah.
So, like, I always feel bad about that. That's why we give the credit where credit's due.
I'm quite surprised that that it hasn't had as much views as it should have, because I feel like it should have had.
But yeah.
We kind of had already.
That's one of the things with bots is that realistically they. You can code a bot to do anything. You can any amount of machine learning dash neural net type stuff. If you put enough effort into something, it will be able to do whatever you want it to do, and potentially be able to get to the point where it looks realistic. What does Outpost Rush achieve? Outpost Rush is 20v20 PvP. It plays out a lot like Domination in like most first-person shooters. It gives out custom, or not custom, but very specific gear sets that you can only get from Outpost Rush. It also pays out a decent amount of gold. It is level 60 content, so you have to be in the end game to play it. and it is the cherry on top, the sundae that is New World. It's totally worth doing.
It's just unfortunate that nobody will be able to get to that in the open beta.
Yeah. Now, going back to the bots thing, there's always a concern. There's always a concern for bots, and I think games like Ashes of Creation, for example, where it's tab targeted, lend themselves to be more easily botted. Or like EVE Online is a great example of a game that can be botted very easily, because everything shows up in consistent locations, consistent colors, consistent icons. It's very easily detectable and all of those things. I think that New World, because of the vast variety of color and the vast variety of the way that it's kind of set up, it doesn't lend itself very easily to botting. It lends itself really easily to things like macros and like creating custom commands on your mouse that chain commands over and over. Those kind of things are like relatively easy to do.
Yeah, you'll probably see a lot more. Like, I mean, I wouldn't like to say that like it's something that should be that should be normal or anything like that, because it definitely shouldn't be, because it's not it's not within the realms of the what is stipulated by the terms of service of the EULA. But like it is possible that you'll see a lot more macro use by players than botting in New World. I don't want to say that you should potentially do it yourself, because like obviously it's a breach of the terms of service. So expressly don't do it, but like don't expect people to it's possible that people will be trying to bend and break the rules without actually being inherently noticeable. There were a few instances in the closed beta where I was wondering as to whether someone was actually using a macro or not, because the chains of various different actions and various different specials that they were using they was very consistent, let's put it that way. So I had my my suspicions, but of course it's always something that's difficult to be able to actually fundamentally prove. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's something that Amazon Games would be able to tell much better than you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and one of the other kickers here is that it just isn't an easy game to. It just isn't an easy game to set up a bot for most things. There are some things, obviously, that it can be, but it really has a lot more complexity to it than most other games. That said, like, it does have easy anti-cheat, which will prevent a number of things, like memory editing, where, like, that I can tell you, like, easy anti-cheat will not just ban you, but it'll likely land you a VAC ban on Steam, which, if you don't know how that works, that's not a good thing to happen to your account on Steam, especially if you play more than one game on there. With how well New World seems to be integrating with Steam, like they seem to be doing like test things and things that are uncommon, like running an open beta and testing out that kind of deeper software. I think Steam is going to be pretty on point with assisting them and making sure that people stay banned from their game.
I think it's. I honestly think it's a good direction that Amazon Games are going. Like,
So the other thing is that money the incentive to bot mostly comes from the incentive to try and actually make money from the game. So, and if you think about that for a minute, this is a much more difficult game to bot, or much more difficult game to monetize, because let's say I went to go sell gold, which is bad, not something you should do. But if I did that, I would then have to find somebody who's interested in that on the server that I play on that isn't going to turn me in. That's a very finite number of people, and just isn't set up the same way. So, like, comparatively speaking to EVE Online, where you can sell to the entire player base, there's a financial incentive there. You know, again, not saying that this is a good thing, not saying that it's something that people should do at all, just stating that this is, you know, it adds to complexity.
It's something, yeah.
And they would, you know, in order to do it efficiently, they would need to grind on every server, and, you know, that would be painfully obvious, you know. And the other kicker is that other people can go do stuff. So, like, let's say you just set up like a super long macro that was, you know, all of the iron nodes across the map. Somebody can go mine those iron nodes, you know. Like, it's not the system is set up in a way that allows for a lot of user interaction, and, you know, your bot could get caught by NPCs, you know, and if you're not set up for it, it's not going to work. But yeah, just noting some of those things are a possibility, and worth consideration, at least in that discussion. That said, botting is bad. Don't do it. Don't support botters. Don't, if you believe somebody is botting, report them for botting, and let the devs sort it out.
And contrary to speculation, there wasn't any kind of, you know, blanket banning of anybody who was reported for X amount of times. Like, they were always looked at, you know, by an actual member of the support staff before any actual bans occurred. So, you know, in that kind of sense, don't worry about, you know, whether you've gotten X or Y amount of, reports from people. You know, it'll only really actually occur, like, if you're actually doing something wrong.
Yeah.
If you're clean, like, you know, they will look at, you know, all the data that they collect from, you know, from your your play, and, you know, server, and all the server data that's basically related to you, and see if there's anything, you know, dodgy. And if there is, you know, which chances are, if you were doing something dodgy, they will see it. And then you may well get a ban. But if you know, if you haven't been doing anything dodgy, but you've got a group that, you know, seemingly wants to, you know, try and game the system, right? Try and you know, use some think that there's some automated process there that will, you know, that they can game in order to actually get people, you know, at least temporarily banned. Like, that isn't the case.
Yeah. It definitely is nice that that they confirmed that those are the things. Sorry. I've got a few things happening in the background that people are trying to but yeah, functionally speaking, it really is a good setup. It really is, you know, I appreciate how they do things, and when it comes to banning people, like, remember that, like, especially for streamers, the moment that you get banned is not necessarily the moment that you did something wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, just putting that out there, like, you can get banned, and, like, similar to managing the subreddit here, you know, if something happens, we don't see it right away. We see it, you know, an hour later when we're going through the queue. You know, sure, we might get a ping to our phone or something like that, but, like, you know, reality is we might not see it for a while. And in a game where there's, 200,000 people playing at the moment, the number of reports coming in is going to be immense.
Chances are,
their bar for taking people's crap is going to be pretty low. So, like, for instance, the person who got banned for milking a cow, they didn't get banned for milking a cow. You'll note that no one else got banned for milking a cow. What they got banned for probably happened an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours the previous day, that they finally got caught up on the queue and went, here's your ban.
Congratulations on breaking the ULA as a ban. But it wasn't something that they did right there and then. It was most likely something that was on a backlog. Hence the milking cow thing.
So there's a bunch of things like that are things to note. Obviously, the mass reporting was not a contributing factor to the reality of things. Like, that's just like, if anything, you're just pissing off the devs because now they've got 1,000 reports to go through.
Cow's throat was milked.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, it really was. AFK leeching during sieges or Outpost Rush. May that be a problem in the game? It could be. As somebody who goes in and helps lower level players in dungeons, I can tell you that oftentimes there seems to be a number of people who don't participate at the level they should. So it would not surprise me if something like Outpost Rush, that you could contribute in a very minimal way and still get the reward at the end. That said, in a 20-on-20 situation, you're probably going to want to be participating more, just to help your team actually win. You do get pretty decent rewards even for losing, but the rewards for winning are decently better.
Oh yeah. Otherwise, what's the point, right?
Yeah. Similar to running wars, where there is an incentive to be good at the game and win, but you're also going to get a box for losing, but it's not going to be as valuable. It's not going to have as high a chance of rolling a higher level gear or rolling some of the equipment that you can only get from those events. I actually saw a war chest during the open beta, or during the closed beta, that dropped a single T5 health bot, which I thought was funny.
That's harsh.
Yeah, that was kind of a dick move, but that's rolling the natural one right there.
It's kind of like it's like congratulations on dying so much. Here's something to bring your life back. Oh, by the way, your life is all the way to full now because you finished the game.
The other kicker, so the thing with Outpost Rush that makes it really different than Wars is that you can run Outpost Rush all day, every day. Back to back, just stay queued for it, and it'll start up a new session. However, wars, on the other hand, you have to be selected for. They only happen on a pretty rare basis, as people have seen. They're a lot more challenging to get into. Outpost Rush is kind of that middle ground of, let's find a good way of getting people together, for solid PvP. Has there been any changes to gear snapshotting? Define snapshotting.
Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit lost with regards to that particular phrase.
For wars, I really liked the way that we ran things on Thule for Covenant. We kind of gave each company, each major company in Covenant, we're all represented on the same Discord, and we would each get a squad or two to show up and have the conversation. Have that conversation with have the conversation with them and basically be like, hey, let's bring in our best guys, let's win this, because it was important to win the wars. Occasionally, actually, I think half the time we lost the wars, but we got some pretty good videos, especially from the gunner positions on a lot of the map, or on a lot of the different areas. We managed to get a lot of kills on those. But wars are a lot of fun, but they really are much more rare than they should be.
I mean, they probably will be much rarer than, say, games of Outpost Rush, when the actual, once the game has actually been released, and you've gotten people, to level 60, and there's a fair amount of people on the server that are at that level 60, sort of like prerequisite, right?
Yeah. And basically, like, your end game. So, like, let's talk about the end game. Your end game looks like this. You log in, you look for your level 60 elite chest, and then you're going to run any level 60 to 65 content you can, so any orbs you might have for that week. And then from there, you're going to run Outpost Rush, wait for wars, and invasions. And that's your level 60 content right there. Like,
I mean,
it oversimplified, but yeah.
You are missing out most of the open world content, by the way. Just saying there, right?
Yes. But like, functionally, like, a lot of the elite chests are going to come from, they're going to come from the open world, where you need to go into the elite areas and run those. There's the level 65 portals, which are no joke. They're good things to do. They drop good gear. Expeditions are I think I mentioned the orbs. You need the tuning orbs to get into those. I believe there was a video that I saw the other day that was talking about a potential change in the system for expeditions that could make lower level expeditions like Amaran Expedition and Starstone and the Depths, and create a more difficult version of them, basically like a hardcore dungeon.
Oh yeah, no, I remember you.
And that would up the level of that content. So potentially drop, like, I know, like, Amaran Expedition specifically drops these really cool hammers, like, just really cool, but they're useless once you get T4 gear. So, like, being able to turn around and be like, oh hey, now I can get level 65 or level 60 gear with this skin on it that I really like. That in itself would be quite nice to have. But
I prefer that over transmog. I prefer that over transmogging, like, because then you have you're incentivized to essentially go and do this content, like, a few times over in order to actually get what you want, rather than just, like, transmogging something.
Yeah, the Depths was no joke. Like, that's a nice, like, the Depths. So like the end room in Starstone is probably one of my favorite, because, like, you get that feeling of just being swamped. Like, you were getting bombarded with with enemies, and it does a really good job of giving you a ton of weak enemies to kill. That if you don't kill them, they're gonna overrun you. Like, that feeling needs to be more prevalent in more of the different expeditions, and it should be more prevalent throughout the open world, in my opinion, as well. Like, if you're gonna have a high tier area, have there be 15 non-gold skeletons that all pop out of nowhere. Like, yeah, it's gonna be a pain, but, like, that's what it's designed to be.
I think like part of the issue there is dependent on like how many open world like entities can be there or can be in an area at any particular one time, and if it's 15 for each player that like decides to go in and do it, what happens when 30 players come in? It's like because you're still going to want to have that kind of like the swarming kind of feel, right? But if there's 30 players and only like 15 NPCs, it's not exactly swarming, right?
Yep.
But you don't want to have it in a situation where where the server performance is degraded because you're trying to keep that swarming situation, when you have like a mass group of 30 people coming into an area.
Yeah. To note, the tuning orbs are one-time use. So you craft them. The higher end ones are actually substantially difficult to craft. They require a high level of stone crafting, as well as a bunch of other like oddities that you can only get from other places. So like corrupted shards that you have to get from portals, and other stuff that like you're gonna need to go out and find, and they're not easy to get. That said, you only need one per run. So if you have 5 people and they all craft their stuff, you can go run it 5 times. Or you could potentially go buy them as well from people, or you can join random groups. Hey, thanks for the subs, Voxel Vinny with the 5 gifted subs. Thank you. Got our MVPs going on tonight. Really do
very
appreciate
much so.
it.
Cheers, Voxel. See, you've lost what you were.
NPC faction organized raid groups. Yeah, I think they should. That would be fun. I actually think one of the things that they're missing. So right now they've got, on the PvP side of things, they've got open world, which mirrors PvE. They've got duels 1 to 5. So like you can set up duels that are literally 5v5s. And then the gap exists here where PvP has Outpost Rush, which you're seeing right now, which is 20v20, and then they both have the 50 content. So like expeditions would be the 5-person content as well, but on the PvE side. But the level 50 are the 50-person content. You've got the invasions and you've got the wars. So like there's equal content except for that middle piece, and I think like a 15 to 20 range for PvE, where like it's a substantial room that requires a decent amount of healers and some complex mechanics. I think that would be like a really cool thing to add in. So hopefully that can be a thing.
There was a video that Amazon Games kind of released, or Play New World like released somewhat recently. Where is it? It was entitled the Tales of Eternum: The Corrupted. Right. I'm only bringing this up for a particular reason, because they went over a very particular kind of like a very particular part about Empress Zhou, right? We've heard sort of some inklings of what she's about. I kind of think they're actually it's potentially planned that there's going to be something a little bit more related to it, specifically relating to this idea that she's building a fleet, right, to conquer something, right? What was said is essentially to conquer Eternum, right? And I'm thinking that potentially, this is kind of speculation. This is speculation based on what was said, but it's possible that we could potentially have sort of like raid style content that happens on many of the territories that have basically sort of like coastal areas, right? And this could be, I'm thinking that this may potentially be content that comes, after launch, maybe like a few weeks or maybe a month after launch, something like that. If that's the case, that would be really, really cool, because that would be kind of a degree of dynamic sort of event-based content, like all around Eternal, and all around the map.
Yeah, it could be interesting. Sorry, I'm just checking into a couple other things as we go here.
Yeah.
I know one of the things that people have pretty consistently asked for is the, alternative forms of combat. So things like mounts and naval combat. And I think that naval combat is kind of an eventuality. Currently, there's no vehicles in the game. There's just wrecks. But I could see that being a thing down the road. It doesn't have to just be one island.
I think if they want to use a PvE kind of event, or sort of a somewhat storyline-ish event, that happens live, whether you're at that particular point in the storyline or not. Like, I think something like that will also help, from a development standpoint, to actually, see how the mechanics that they're creating are functioning, inside of the game world, like before players actually get their hands on it specifically. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So if we are going to eventually get to the point where we're sort of have our hands on naval combat to some degree, it would make sense that Amazon Games would want to at first test it in the game environment, from an NPC or a PvE kind of standpoint, right? Just to make sure that like things are functioning properly. They may even use, they may come in as characters, and not have it be AI, like have it not basically be AI that are controlling certain things. Actual have like actors as such playing important parts, or using certain mechanics in order to make sure that it functions properly.
Okay.
Like these are potentially tools for Amazon Games to to test out, once the game has actually launched in a real world persistent environment, without it resorting to giving it to players like straight away just after they've designed it, and not having an environment where they can test it. They can test it themselves in a moderately controlled environment to some degree. It makes sense for me because we can't swim at the moment, which does suck. Which means that if they were controlling ships and that kind of thing, we wouldn't be able to get over to those ships as much, unless someone does something really kind of crazy. But you never know. Like, players are
McLeod, did you just get out? McLeod, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I think I just got out for a moment there. Sorry about that.
Yep. I don't know if it was my end or.
I think it was my end.
Stream's still going, I think.
Yeah, stream is still going. It's fine. It was my end.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but that's Twitch for you.
No, I think it was just my fault, my end. Don't worry, it's all good.
So, I actually really like this question. Speaking of new mechanics, thoughts on actual expansions of cities owned by companies up to the capital level, along with alliance housing and storage. So, one of the things that I have long since argued for, and this goes way back to Alpha 1, those that don't know, Alpha 1 did actually have storage that multiple people could get into. Then again, Alpha 1 was a very, very different game. Alpha 1 played a lot like Rust. So like if you had a base, you built up a base on a territory that you won, that defended, and you had the different crates around, or the different what are now used as storage things in towns. Those kind of things were accessible by multiple people with access lists. And like I actually thought that would be a mechanic that would come back, and I hope that it is, because I think that guild storage is actually really important for a number of reasons. I also think that formal alliances in games are really important and should be something that they develop over time. Aside from that, I think being able to expand the look and feel of the city to be bigger than it is, or to have more like complexity, or more like, if you invest more into it, to be able to get more out of it beyond just the T5 stations that you can normally get. I think there should be other things that you can grow a city to become more of like a capital, and really
yeah.
I think that there's a lot of opportunity on those things. I think that they've done a really good job of listening to the player base on much of this. I apologize for the bot. It's very aggressive tonight.
It's being triggered off certain words. So yeah. Don't worry about that.
Would be nice to see towns evolve more. Right now it's basically just a trading post. Yeah, I mean, like, they did add that the stations, as you upgrade them, have a different look to them. So like the T1 crafting station is a campfire. The T5 crafting station is like a whole like triple kitchen, with like burners and the whole works. Like it's actually like, it looks nice.
All that gems.
Like those kind of things I think are really good to have in it. And they added a lot of really cool stuff as well with
well, when those do get upgraded, they actually there's a fireworks show that goes off as well.
Yes.
Which is kind of interesting.
Yes. So that they're kind of cool. They show a little bit of a difference, at least. They show a little bit of a difference, but it's not. I think they could go deeper. They could go deeper.
Yeah, they definitely could go deeper. And I think one of the other things that you will probably find as well is when it comes to sort of, the various different holiday events, the usual kind of holiday events, you'll probably see, I wouldn't be surprised if many of the, if not all of the settlements end up basically getting themed specifically on those particular events for certain things.
Oh yeah. I'm actually really excited because I know stuff. I'm really excited for some of the seasonal events and things like that. Like there have been things that I've heard and seen that that give me a lot of excitement about those kind of events. I'm pretty happy to see that they're taking those kind of things seriously, because like they really are good opportunity. Like a good example for this is EVE Online. EVE Online does a lot of this, where they have events planned out for specific times of the year, that happen reoccurring. They're themed around the holidays, and they always have like some kind of in-depth thing to do, and of course they come with custom cosmetics and stuff like that like are going to get people interested in doing stuff at various times in the year.
They've certainly had the time to develop it. So in that regard,
they also have the ability to change all of the look of the map very rapidly. So one of the things with specifically Lumberyard is the vegetation tool. You can change the vegetation across the entire map if you want. So if they wanted to, for Christmas, New Year's, they could change the entire map to be a frozen tundra. That is a capability that they have. An Easter Bunny event. Yeah, I want, literally, I want there to be a cave somewhere up in the north with the level 65 white rabbit that has the attack moves and abilities of a level 65 puma. Just saying, you kill it and it drops 40 eggs. That would be hysterical. Because, the first time somebody sees it, they're going to be like, no, there's, it's funny. They go up to kill it, and then,
oh, it's cute bunny. Oh, I need to... I'm 59 of 60 on a bunny quest. Let's just kill this one.
Yeah, and then full-on Monty Python style, it leaps from 20 yards away, latches onto the throat.
It's just straight up kills you. No downing, just straight death.
Mm-hmm. That would be hysterical. And they could do little things like that as well across the map. To add in different events.
Quest giver to send you over there, being called Tim. That sort of thing.
Change the Angry Earth deer to have their nose glow. It's the little things that you could do that are seemingly ridiculous, but would be really fun to have. Just for a short little event.
It's just thinking with some of those some of the ancient enemies, replacing their blades with candy canes or something like
that. Yeah.
Something stupid like that.
Yeah. As long as it's for a short amount of time, it'd be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep reaching up to mute my mic because that's normally there's a button on my other headset. If people see me reaching up here and I end up coughing into this mic, I apologize, but
there is an effort. He's accentuating and making sure that his microphone is really close to his mouth when he coughs.
Yeah. In terms of dungeons up to the end game, thoughts on possible level of dungeons such as WoW, Mythics, and Legendaries need even more people and coordination? Yes. So I think that this is going to be a thing. There was a video a little while ago, within the last week, that somebody had data mined what they're referring to as mutations for the dungeons. That might not be the end thing, but it makes a lot of sense from a development time standpoint, where you up the content level, you up the difficulty to allow for higher level people to run the same content at a higher level. So might be something as easy as swapping all of the enemies with from the level 25 variant to the level 65 variant, so that people in the end game have a reason to run Amaran again. I personally think that they need to develop a 20-person or 15 to 20 people content, and I hope that I could see the dungeons being that. The problem is that they don't have groups larger than 5. So my hope is that they also solve that little problem, because you really do need to be able to have 15 to 25 people in a group. You know, really good example of this is actually Lost Ark. Like the 15-person, you know, PvE, you know, raid bosses, is actually like it's a stupid amount of fun. Like, but like it really is something that is worthwhile. And actually, on that topic, I actually have news on Lost Ark.
Oh yeah, there was something recently coming out about Lost Ark, right?
I'm gonna pause this video in the background here, and for those that don't know, Amazon Games is co-developing Lost Ark with a company called Smilegate, and basically what they're doing is kind of transitioning it from a Eastern MMO to a Western MMO, as well as translating it. So there was a technical test a while back, but they wanted to give people an idea of like why there is as much of a delay as there is, because they recently pushed Lost Ark to next year.
And people are wondering like how like why is this the case when it's just like, you know, a lot of people kind of think that it's just localization that they're doing. It's not just localization.
So to clarify this, like, you know, I actually really appreciated the way they put this out here. Yes, the invisible laser beams need to be addressed immediately. That's yeah. So Lost Ark contains nearly 3 million words of English text and is still growing. That's about the same length of every book in the Song of Fire and Ice series multiplied by 2. All of this text must first be translated from Korean into English, and then from English into French, German, Spanish, so that these languages all have the same frame of reference. Regardless of the language you play it in, everyone will be able to refer to the same NPCs and locations with the same terminology. So like there's a lot of like nuance to that. They go in and talk about all of the other parts of this, but there's also all of the voice acting. 4,500 of the NPCs have voiceovers. Like, think about that for a moment.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of freaking voiceovers.
Oh yeah, that's an insane amount of voiceovers.
Apologies, I could probably zoom this in quite a bit further. I'm gonna post this in the chat because like I know that text can be small, and I don't want to sit on this for too long. But like, there's a lot of infrastructure stuff. There's localization, which is a pain. Like, there's a ton of things to go into on that infrastructure side of things, and putting the game into different regions actually creates a lot of systems that if you haven't done that before, is a lot more complex than it sounds, and there's a lot of services that you then have to create to shift people from server to server that prior to this didn't exist because they only had the one area. And of course, you know, they've got testing and adding new classes because the game is already out in certain markets, so like, you know, that's the thing. You know, I just wanted to cover that, hey, this was a thing that came out, but we'll dive back over to New World here, because yeah. But yeah, they have done more work with the voice acting in New World as well. They're going to be releasing patch notes closer to, or actually on the forums when the open beta launches. So we'll probably cover those at some point soon.
I mean, if queue times are a bit of a bitch, then chances are we might jump over and we'll, like when we're streaming, potentially cover the patch notes while we're waiting for the waiting to get into servers, for example.
Oh, right. I just saw that there's another.
Yeah, and to be completely honest,
away as we're live here, so I'm trying to keep up with the official content. So.
And you know, when it comes to voice acting, like this is the thing, voice acting is actually quite expensive, and it's expensive, it's time consuming, and take up a fair chunk of resources at the end of the day. Like, I mean, as I said, like, you know, in Lost Ark, you've got like 4,500 like different characters or different NPCs with various different lines and stuff. So, you know, you need to, like, I mean, let's forget about, like, you know, the amount of time taken sort of to develop that kind of stuff, but you know, just the amount of actors that you need to find, you know, their time that you need to pay for, and then all of the editing, cleaning up and editing of all of that kind of stuff. It does take a long time to do, and it's quite an involved process. It's, you know, it's a lot harder than just, you know, creating, you know, just text-based sort of storyline and then text-based quest giving and that kind of thing. But the effect that you have when you actually do have like a decent voiceover is, you know, it's night and day, right? You know, you get a quest that's just in text, like the amount of immersion that you lose from that, you know, compared to if you actually had a voice, you know, properly voice acted, you know, with a decent sort of you know, decent lip syncing and all of that kind of stuff. Like, you know, there's a lot of immersion that you get from that, which, you know, you lose if you don't take the time and the effort. But it does take a lot of time and effort.
Absolutely. You know, and it really is a lot more complex than people, like, localization as a concept is a lot more complex than people give it credit for. Like, if you think about the way that we say things, it's not just the words that we use, it's the context in which we use them in. You know,
the phrasing that we use, like...
Yeah, and that phrasing doesn't necessarily translate. So you have to find something that conveys the same meaning within the context of the language that you're translating it to. So, like, you know, it's one thing if you're translating something short, like you know, we auto translated the Mine MMO article. You know, it's a lot more complex when you're trying to change things like 3 million plus words. Like, that's a lot of like oddities can happen there, where, like, you know, all your base R belong to us type things. Or, like, you know, if you've ever seen the, like, Chinese, Japanese, like, t-shirts that where they have, like, American sayings, which are nowhere near what they're supposed to be. You know, because they just, like, auto-translated and it doesn't have a clean meaning on the other side. You know, it's definitely a different, it's different. It takes a lot more time than it seems like it should, but getting it right is all the difference in the world.
Oh yeah.
So
that's for sure.
Well, we got any other questions out there?
I mean, it looks like we're good at the moment, but
things have kind of slowed down a bit. We really do appreciate everybody coming to the show. Like, it really is awesome to have everybody out there. You know, I want to take a moment and thank all of our Patreons, our gifted subs, our subscribers. If you guys got a sub, make sure to connect your Twitch with Discord and hop in the Discord. We have a channel where we chat with our subs. You know, feel free to peruse the Discord as well.
Yeah. So Chief Pagan, like as far as I know, there's nothing like that in the game at the moment. But you know, I mean, sky's the limit, kind of, to some degree, when it comes to sort of stuff that could be included into New World, you know, after launch. It would be interesting to have kind of interesting, like, experimental, you know, sort of things like that. You know, things like gliders made of like hide or wood and all that kind of stuff that you mentioned. But yeah, with regards to engineering skills, incorporating custom blueprints at a very high level, or being able to sort of, being able to discover or be inspired into, finding custom blueprints for something that is, sort of not really within the realms of the same sort of weapons or armor or that kind of stuff that we already have, is a very definitely an interesting concept.
Interesting. We actually just had a few things pop up on the subreddit that I want to talk about here.
Cool. Oh yeah.
Luck in New World.
Yeah, that is something that is very, very sort of very much considered a mystical art of some form.
Yeah. So this is going to be that really zooms in, doesn't it?
Yeah, that really does zoom in, dude.
We post resources like this in the community resource channel towards the top of our Discord whenever we see them. But this actually seems like a pretty good way of understanding the intricacies of loot tables and how luck impacts those loot tables. So if anybody's interested in that, we just posted it in there. At the top of this, of course, it's got the.
You mean luck is not a positive virus that you contract for a short period of time?
Yeah. So it looks like Platypus Radio and Tanic17 on Twitch has crafted this together, and this is actually a really good layout of what it's going to take to get certain things, so like Voidbringer's Rapier, what you're actually going to need, and like what kind of rolls you're actually going to need to get them.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
That's definitely so the thing is, luck is definitely one of those things that it is very much not really discussed that much, or doesn't really have that much obvious data or numbers related to it to some degree. So yeah, this is going to be a very interesting resource for people.
Yep. On the PvE or PvP incentives for flagging, I believe that's going to be a thing again.
Yeah, and the rapier is just it hasn't got really anything to do with luck. It's just that it's one of the items that you can build with things like void metal and that kind of thing. And for void metal, you need to have certain. I think it's basically a high degree of luck to be able to find or to be able to have the chance to discover when you crack open I think an iron node or something like that.
It's the same with like killing elites and skinning and stuff like that. There's an element of luck there, and if you have the appropriate gear, you can max out that luck, so that you have a much higher percent chance of getting the top tier stuff that's required to make legendary equipment.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that you're going to grind for a while to actually get. Now, that said, going back to the blueprints thing, there are blueprints that you start off with blueprints for the base items. There are blueprints out in the world that the only way that you can get them is to go find them. And they are drops in crates and from enemies. So keep in mind that is always a thing. So
there's also some specific blueprints that you will only really sort of find, or that you only end up getting access to after you complete particular expeditions.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll find that after, like, say, completing certain expeditions like Amarin, when you come back to your your crafting kind of table, or like one of the like say the forge, or not the forge, the forge, what I'm talking about. You may find that like you have like additional crafting options available to you, where you can potentially craft something that is a drop from but it's potentially a drop from the expeditions, but you can craft them, from a settlement, if you have the right kind of stuff.
Yep, and that also, hey, thanks for the sub. That also comes through as a, you need to go rerun those expeditions to go collect things like the resources that are specific to each one of the things. Yeah. I'm forgetting the name of the one from Amarin, but I think it's like coagulated blood or something like that.
Each one of them have like specific things, resources required to build them, and those resources are actually not something that you would find in the general open world. You actually have to go in and do the expeditions multiple times to find those resources.
Something to note about expeditions is that everybody gets the impression that there's a pseudo limit on how many you can run, based on how many you can make. But remember that you're not the only one trying to run them. So there might be people out there who have gone through the effort, made the orb, and are just looking for a group to join them to go complete that expedition. Don't undersell the amount of orbs that will be out there from people who just want to go complete a mission, or like Amarin Expedition, you get like three different storyline quest orbs to go run it. So you can go run it a number of times, and if your friends all get those same 3 orbs, everyone's got an opportunity to run it over and over and over again.
Because you don't need an orb for each person to run it. Like, you just need one for the group that you're going in. Like, that's just one amongst 5 people that are going in. So,
and if all 5 of you, are going through the storyline at the same point, you're each going to end up with 3 of them. So now you got 15 of these orbs between the 5 of you. Like, it adds up real quick. The end game orbs obviously being much more difficult to get a hold of, and they're a little bit more work to get in there, but they're also substantially higher rewards for going in. With that, we've been rolling for almost 2 hours. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank all of our subs, our gifted subs, our follows. Make sure to hit that follow button. We are eventually going to be dropping some YouTube content, so if you want, please follow the YouTube channel. If you want to hang out with us after the show, we'll be in the Discord for at least a little bit afterwards. So if you have any other questions, we're more than happy to chat. We're pretty chill.
My Covenant t-shirt came.
Nice. Yeah. I ended up picking up one of those as well. I've got the more classic, New World one on right now, but if you're interested in other ways of supporting us, we've also got our Patreons, which thank you to them. All of these different groups are shown on our Twitch as well. You can see people in the order, our members that are subbed on Twitch. Our Patreons are isolated out as well and showcased as their support. And then on top of that, we also make sure to thank just everybody who's watching. Simply put, we do this for you guys. It really is a great opportunity. Obviously we've been doing this for a while, so it's great to see we're at the point where we're borderline making the numbers for partner for Twitch. So,
which is awesome.
Highly unexpected, but also very welcomed. And, again, we really appreciate the opportunity. And with that, as we always love to say, we will see you guys in the New World.